Hello, it's Lexington. This is almost at 92 weeks. This is 52 weeks. And today we're going to talk to one of my dear, dear, dear friends, Jim Druckman, who, if you don't know, hi Elizabeth. If you don't know, he there's New York Design Center. He runs everything, the New York Design Center, and is also a huge friend to the industry and a huge friend of mine. He's one of my dear, dear friends. He and his wife, Nancy, who used to work at Didier Ergo and who is in her own right, just like totally brilliant. And yeah, he should be coming. I just put some makeup fixative on and I'm feeling very shiny. I apologize. If the shine is blinding you, now you know what it is. Okay, they've requested to join and I've accepted and I've sent out the invitation. Oh, it says it's unable to join, but we know he'll be able to figure it out. And by he, I mean someone in his office.
Aha!
Aha!
Aho! It worked.
Hello!
You know I'm into that challenge, so I'm very happy.
Yeah, yeah. I know that like Alex is behind there pushing on things.
Yeah, she was pushing buttons.
Yeah, she was pushing buttons. Hello,
the
Jimmy
same what
P.
you push, though.
Yes, different buttons altogether.
I just want to clarify one thing. I am an owner of the building, but I do have partners who probably would.
I wondered if that was going to irritate you when I wrote it. It's just
no, it doesn't irritate me. It's just I always like to be clear.
Yes, to be upfront.
All wonderful people, and
so if anybody has a complaint, don't come to you. But if anybody wants to lease, they should come to you.
But of course.
Yeah. You know, it's a word that I always have trouble pronouncing, but it's a great word. Synecdoche. Spelled Synedoche. And I think it means like, you know, tissue to Kleenex.
Got it.
So it's like Jim Druckman to NYDC. It's the same thing.
You want me to blow my nose? Is that what that means? Kleenex to Kleenex?
No, you know, when the brand,
right?
You know, I would never say pass me a tissue. I just say give me a Kleenex or a Q-tip or whatever. So you are the New York Design Center. Tell me, so the building was your father or your grandfather?
I'll give you a quick history. 1891, when I was very young, there was no centralized marketplace for furniture in America at wholesale or furnishing. And so a group of enterprising folks got together and ran wholesale furniture markets in this neighborhood in a building called the Grand Central Palace from
the Palace, no less.
But of course, from 1891 through 1925, when a group of the descendants of the 1891 people, some actually and some figuratively, like my grandfather, got together and bought the land and built the building. And so we were built for the purpose, which makes it much easier to operate. And then.
And what was in the neighborhood at the time?
What was in the neighborhood? The last time I saw a picture, there was I think there was a depot for subway cars, and then old brownstones, as far as I know. Anyway, and they built the building it opened in 1926, and they had wholesale markets, much like High Point, all the way twice a year. First it was the national market, then Chicago preempted it, then High Point preempted that. And then, so by the late 70s, we had been hosting regional markets here, and the mostly Southern furniture manufacturers decided to bring everybody down to High Point and close their regional markets. And my father and the boys got together and decided that this should be, he was running the building then, got together and decided this should be a design center. Baker was the first national tenant who have been occupying the third floor since 1982 and still going strong. And then they ran this building through 1995, the last I don't know, could be 25, 30 years. My father was either the treasurer or the president. And the good news was that they were always financially secure. The not quite as good news was they really didn't understand the design business.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 1995, when my Alzheimer's got the better of him, the boys said, all right, now you do this. And I said, yes, but only if you understand that marketing and advertising are very important to the enhancement of a marketplace. And we haven't done much of that. And that's what we have to do. And they said, yes, and here we are.
And so that was 95?
That I took over in 1995.
I didn't realize it was that recent. I guess
You thought I was
I should have, because you're so young.
You thought I was here in 1891, didn't you?
No, I just,
No,
you know, 200 Lex has always existed as far as I'm concerned. And
Right.
it's for sure it's changed in the past 20 years. And but I mean, I was shopping there for sure in 95 is, well, I mean,
Because I will say that
yeah,
most professional designers were always shopping here back then or before. My favorite story is when I saw Albert Hadley in the hallway one day, and that was before we were, in my opinion, the stature we are today. I said, oh, Mr. Hadley, it's nice to see you. Can I help you? What are you doing? And he looked at me, he said, I'm shopping. What do you think I'm doing? So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember like I would always Wood and Hogan and Smith and Watson.
Right.
And I would always confuse the two, and I'm like, yeah, one of those.
Don't worry, I used to call him Wood and Watson.
Wood and Watson. Yeah. So, in the past 10 years, is it that it's really, is that when it really went from 200 Lex to the New York Design Center? Would you date that? Yeah.
I would agree with you, and even more so in the last 5.
Yeah, and you've had a major anniversary, or
it's you know we were, because we don't have as much fabric as other buildings. The traffic was never quite as great, but as fabric has sort of become it's a most important component, but as fabric has become less maybe exciting over the years, and furniture has been on the ascendant, because we are mostly a furniture building, we've been able to attract some furniture and now a lot of fabric. Though La Corona is now expanding. They've only been here for a couple months and they're doubling their space.
That's amazing.
Pindler and Sutherland Perennials, etc., are all newly coming.
Yeah.
We've now become the mecca for everything, but that, of course, is my prejudicial opinion.
No, but it's interesting. It's also, I think designers now, because I've been working in the field just as this has happened, are, you know, we didn't always know where all of the furniture came from. We didn't always know who the dealers, you know, who the manufacturers were. So now we know. And now we go to High Point, and now, you know, we go to the New York Design Center because we now know. Now we know where to go and how to get it. And it's much easier. Before, the ease was, as you were saying, like fabric, it was easy. You knew where to go, you'd get it. But the other stuff was harder to figure out, and, you know, where it was coming from or how to get your hands on it or what price you should be getting it. And now we know. And that's where you come in. And then you have started What's New, What's Next. How long has that been going on?
Oh, I think 12 years by now.
Really been 12
Yes, I can't believe that either. That's
wow.
12 years. And it started out small. And before COVID, the last year, we had over 7,500 people come through in one day. And of course, last year it was all virtual, and there were 50,000 people attending, in quotes. Now, that could be the same 5,000 10 times.
Yeah.
Or who knows, but we were very excited.
Don't you do math with me, Jim Druckman. I will not follow.
2 plus 2 is 4.
No, I will not listen.
Oh, okay.
So in addition to the nuts and bolts of your job at the New York Design Center, you are really in everything. you are, and you're hugely supportive of the industry. How do you see your role? Because it's a lot more than what your actual, like quote unquote role is.
Well, I keep trying to maintain a lower profile, and people like you want me to build it up. I see myself as a bridge between the eras of furniture manufacture, furniture distribution, and furniture design. Because my family's original business, besides the building, was the distribution of mass production furniture. So I am very well acquainted with the mass production industry. And also because I ran my own showroom, I still do, but I don't get there enough. My own showroom here in the building. I understand the showroom business. And my wife worked, as you said, for Didier Aron for years, so I sort of understand the antique business.
And you're also like
and
a
that enabled
traveler.
Me in terms of business. Well, I like to travel. That's helpful, and I, especially when I first took over here, I thought it was important to be everywhere because we really, my father and the boys, I call them, grew up after World War II. In the furniture industry in America, when anybody could sell anything they could make. Mm-hmm. We even had Walker's Furniture in Harlem selling furniture, calling it wood furniture, and it was cardboard. And Bess Meyerson, the Consumer Affairs Commissioner, had him arrested. So I think that I bring this continuity to the industry and an understanding of all ends of it. And because it's a relatively small industry, and because it has so much effect on people's lives, which is probably one of the only at all positive things of COVID, is really people had to stay home, so they focused on their homes and their lives at home, and as a result, furniture and fabric and home furnishings and interior design is one of the stars of post-COVID.
Yeah.
Because people really rediscovered their homes, which is wonderful.
It is wonderful. Not just for the commerce portion.
No, for living, for your life. You spend so many hours at home, even when there is when you aren't forced. And people really hadn't focused on that for years in the same way that they are doing now and did before.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what's going to stick and what isn't, because definitely it's seismic. It's the psychological effects of why am I out working 400 hours? It's different. Though I do think the way the New York Design Center, and he has not paid me to say this, but the way that you guys work within the industry, it does feel like a happy place where we can all go, and there's not it's, you don't feel drudgery about it. Like, there's a great cafe, there are lots of friends, there are lots of events there.
I've always felt that this is a business with a soul, and what makes the design center here different from other buildings in the city and around the country is most of them are just real estate projects. Right. And for us, this is our business, and our business is the enhancement of the marketplace, and creating a cohesive marketplace. I think is really important. My tenants will tell you, I don't want their last nickel. I might want the second to last nickel, but I don't want their last nickel. I want them to be successful, and I want them to operate in a marketplace where, you're right, there's everything is upbeat, from the fact that we put music in our hallways at some point. So when you walk off the elevator, you don't just drop. Right. You feel like you're in a place that's alive. Yeah. And as I said, the industry is one that affects everyone. There is nobody, even if they roll up their only jacket to sleep on as a pillow, that doesn't have furnishings in effect to live in.
Right. Tell me about, now you've got the Incollect floor, which was,
Yes.
first it was First Dibs, now it's Incollect.
Right.
That's a huge undertaking and a major mind shift, both for the New York Design Center to do and also for us, the decorators, just to have that resource located. How did you go about, like what was, obviously I know its value, I understand its value. How did you go about making that huge leap? Because that must have been kind of shocking and scary to do.
It was. I worked on it for a long time with Michael Bruno, who founded First Dibs. And my original idea was not to bring American antique dealers. My original idea was to take his members who were in Paris
Sure.
and the flea markets and bring them to New York
Right,
in
so
a
they'd have a
physical
foothold.
marketplace, so
Yeah.
that designers like you could come in and not just see something on a screen or in a photo,
Yeah.
but could actually put your hands on it. And somehow that morphed into, with me going back and forth with Michael, it morphed into what we then called the First Dibs Gallery. And it was exciting. And I also did it because, going back to our discussion before about fabric and furniture,
Yeah.
when we started, fabric was alone as the biggest draw. Furniture was a draw, but fabric was alone as the biggest draw. Now I think both furniture and fabric are a draw. But and I said I need, and fabric creates traffic, and because people shop it more often.
Right, it's going to the market.
I said, what can I do to create similar traffic to the fabric business here at the Design Center? You know, there were statistics years ago, I don't remember now, but that people replace their dining room furniture every 17 years and their bedroom furniture every 12 years. And upholstery, which is where fabric was involved, was pretty much every 5 years. Now, this is an old statistic. I think, sure, it's me.
Right, but I mean, it makes sense because where?
So I
I
needed a product that would make you come in as often as you went fabric shopping.
Right.
And this was it. Because good designers, as long as I've been knowing anything about the design business, have always peppered their projects with antiques.
Yeah.
And very good designers, ergo one Mark Hampton, used to take his clients to the Metropolitan Museum to show them the period rooms, then stop at the on the way down, and really educate the clients. And I felt that, first of all, there weren't enough doing that, and this was a way for designers to do it and give them an advantage. And maybe I'm old-fashioned, whatever. I still think that it's important to physically see, touch, feel, and sit, no matter how wonderful you tell me the internet is by itself.
Yeah, yeah, and it does. I think it changed the center of gravity of the New York Design Center, because you had fast and slow. It just feathered the nest, and now, I mean, a normal person, aka not a professional, can go in themselves. They don't need to come with a designer.
On the 10th floor, anybody can shop, and actually in the rest of the building, it's obviously, I think
you can get
95, but there are showrooms that will permit consumers to enter. Not that many that'll permit them to buy, but then we have access to design in the building, where we have 30 designers who are on call. They each give us 8 hours a month, and so there's always somebody to facilitate learning, and we feel access to design should be a learning process for people.
Do you feel like people know that they can go in and have a designer help them buy that stuff?
Well, if they read our website and they read everything we publish and they read our ads in the magazine, definitely yes.
So the answer is no, they don't know.
That's That's why I said it that way.
Okay. All right. So we've cleared that up.
Right.
So yes, that is worth repeating to anyone listening to this or watching this, is you can be a civilian, a non-professional decorator, and you can walk into 200 Lex, and if you do not have a resale account, you can go to the desk and they will get a designer to help you to facilitate your purchase of whatever it is you're trying to buy.
Certainly pre-COVID, and now it's starting back again. If they aren't physically here again, because COVID made everything a little odd.
Yeah,
They will hook up you up with the designer who is of record at that moment.
Right.
And then if you don't like them, there's portfolios here of the other 29. And
of course, but the first thing that designer is going to do is help you get the stuff, buy it. Then the second thing is you can additionally engage them.
Right, but we try to take those consumers and educate them a bit before we just introduce them to a designer. We want to make sure they understand the process, and I want to try to teach, but I can't do it all by myself, but I don't get anybody else to help us, the value of good design, which I think sometimes gets lost, and certainly in the retail business and elsewhere. And there's a great value to interior design, obviously, good interior design and good interior designers who are professional. And people have to learn it, and forgive me, not you, because nobody markets herself more and better than you do.
Yeah, I'm like, Alexa!
But to a large extent, interior designers don't market themselves, in my opinion, as well as they could. And I blame, I'll get in big trouble for this, but I blame the fact that the only organization that's big enough to possibly do this would be ASID, and they really don't do enough to market the need for an interior designer in the world. Okay,
well, I don't know what my I'm affiliated with ASID. I forget what my proper. I forget what my name.
You have the grand guru. You have the grand guru title. That's
you're the Poobah and I'm the guru. But I mean, then that's worth talking to ASID about. But I constantly say to my friends in design that it is such a weird catch-22 because you don't want to advertise, because somehow it's looked down upon, and you don't want, obviously, like, you want to maintain whatever cachet you can have. So what can you do?
You can apply for and hopefully be selected to be in one of the 3 Kips Bay show houses.
So let's talk about that. Obviously, Kips Bay is, well, beyond the great things for the design community. Kips Bay helps 10,000 kids in the Bronx every year have a place to go after school where they can take robotics, they can take dance, they can do math, they can do sport, they can, it is, when I hear about the programs offered by the Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club, I'm like, damn, it's incredible. And these are kids who might be, like latchkey, which was an expression I didn't understand for 100 years, which is so silly. But it just gives them a destination to go before going home.
Well,
and it's in enrichment programs, it's community, and it's safety.
Right, and the beauty of it, and it's the reason I got involved, is it is a community that a large portion of its fundraising comes through the interior design dinners and the show houses, and so it's a natural fit for me to be involved. And it's a great way to help. It's a great way to help children. It really saves lives. Those latchkey kids you're talking about could be sitting on the stoop, and the guy comes by and gives them drugs the first time free and hooks them. And this way, they're in a nurturing place. They get fed. They're educated. They have fun. And if you visit a Kips Bay clubhouse, there is palpable cheerfulness with these kids. They smile from year to year, and it is amazing. And Kips Bay is, I have been told, is really the flagship, or certainly one of them, for the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Yeah, so I'm very associated with them.
Yeah, my best girlfriend and I constantly talk about, it's annoying to have to, drive them or whatever. I'm
Right.
not driving them, but send my kids to soccer. Her daughter plays violin at a really high level, and she's also a ballerina in addition to being a great student. And it's just about, when we talk about all of these like endless classes we're setting up for our kids, part of it is to just keep, and I'm no good at it, but the busier our children are, this is not unique to the Bronx. This is everywhere.
No.
The more our children, not overscheduled, but busy, having a place to go and something to do is just less opportunity for them to be doing things we don't want them to.
And having a place that's a happy place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and home isn't always a happy place, unfortunately, for a lot.
Yeah, I know my home's not a happy place. I'm like, yeah, no, but I mean, that is forever the problem. If you're in the country, you might, you want to keep your kids away from like meth labs and bad things that are in the country. And if you are city people like we are, you want to keep them off the streets where people have access to them. They're just, so yes, Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club is incredible. And because you're also like, you have all a philanthropic part of you. You are you are engaged in your New York community for sure. So let's get a little overview of the boards that you have served on, and then we can talk about how you drag us all in.
Well, no, I used to be on more. I've cut back because it's just impossible. At the moment, I sit on the board,
and you want to give it your best.
Yes. Well, I sit on the board of the Horticultural Society of New York, where I'm not quite as active as others, but I do believe in the work that the Horticultural Society does on Rikers Island and other places.
Oh, what is that? What are they doing at Rikers?
They have a program where we work with prisoners and teach them about horticulture and growing. It's a wonderful. Right now, with the mess at Rikers, I don't know how much we're doing, but
so yes, my understanding is that Rikers is closing.
Well, not yet. They keep talking about it, but I don't think.
So it's just a plan. It's not a foregone conclusion.
It's not. It's somewhere along the way they're going to close, but I don't think it's as fast as one would expect. And then they have programs in schools. They have a program when you drive on the Henry Hudson Parkway and you see that it's a part of a national park. We have a gardening and growing program there for kids as well as anyone who comes. It's really a service organization. As I shouldn't say as opposed, but it's not the botanical garden that grows and makes everything pretty, but we have installations throughout the city that we cultivate, and it's a wonderful group, and it helps beautify people's lives and hopefully the city. And then I am the treasurer and board member of New York School of Interior Design, where I drag.
So yes, we have our board call at 2:00.
As soon as we sign
off of this,
we won't be exhausted and exempt ourselves.
I already got a permission to be there half the time.
Oh, good. I'm with you. Whatever you.
I gotta go to a meeting. Okay.
And then let's see what other.
So the New York School of Interior Design, which we obviously love,
Yes.
because we love them and for obvious reasons, we're in the industry, and they are incredible and have done really well even during the pandemic.
Yes.
And they've got undergrad, graduate programs. And back to what you were saying about teaching people about the value of design, the kids that are coming out of these schools, NYSID in particular, I might say, they are doing a great job of showing the value of a designer because they are educated every year. Their accomplishments as graduates are growing. They're lighting
and internationally.
They're killing it.
Yes, and deservedly so. And actually, we're in the building opening a continuing education center for them soon. So that's another exciting involvement.
That is very cool.
And then, of course, I'm the president of the board of Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club, which we discussed. And I used to be on Alpha Workshops, DIFA,
which is wonderful.
The synagogue, a few other things. So I have cut back. Alpha especially was near and dear to my heart. I just didn't have the bandwidth to continue. But
So
you know,
talk though, even though you're not on that board anymore, tell us about Alpha Workshops. Or so I know what Alpha Workshops is, but for people who might not know.
Alpha Workshops was developed as a program to train people who are living with HIV and AIDS in the decorative arts. And they make magnificent wallpaper. They do gilding of rooms. They all kinds of finishes, lamps, and actually, they made this.
That's wonderful.
They made this.
And I
frog.
think it's
Keep it on my
expanded.
desk, and
I think it's
basically
expanded beyond the HIV community, has it not?
well, now they've expanded.
It is
Yes.
for
I
yeah.
asked them. I discussed for years for them to expand, but they finally expanded when I left.
Yeah.
But the Alpha, what they really did, especially in the beginning of the AIDS epidemic, was give people who were losing hope and maybe their self-respect. Not that they should have, but that was what was happening.
Right.
It gave them a new lease on life. It gave them something to be proud of. It gave them
agency and art and beauty and artistry and a means by which to support themselves.
Right, and that's why I supported them for years, and we still support them. I don't have time to do it. And then BIFA, of course, the same. They were marvelous. It's just, again, the bandwidth was
yeah,
not.
but like, yeah, you look around the design community and we have wonderful philanthropic endeavors.
Well, I have said for years, and every time there's some event, I try to repeat it. We have an industry with a soul. Mm-hmm. We are not just selling widgets. We're not just building buildings. We're not just selling orange juice.
Right, transacting.
It's not. It's really an industry with a soul. Most designers end up befriending a percentage of their clients. It's more about people's way of life, and the soul of this industry is a great one.
Yeah.
So that's why I support it.
So, back to Kips Bay. Kips Bay, which I am, thanks to you, co-chair of the New York Show House with Jamie Drake. Kips Bay exists in New York, and in the recent past, it started doing show houses in Palm Beach, and then last year was the first Kips Bay show house in Dallas. And talk about, so obviously the Kips Bay New York is the big daddy, and we invite people to submit their portfolios, and then we choose from them, and we do a lottery, and the rooms are assigned. And these other ones still, they each one has local charities as well as Kips Bay that they're supporting.
Correct.
So
in Palm Beach, we partnered with the Palm Beach Boys and Girls Club,
mm-hmm.
And in Dallas, 2 other local charities.
Dwell with Dignity,
yeah,
and
I don't remember the other name, to be honest with you, but they're really most grateful for us coming in and helping them, and in turn they help us back. It's sort of a bit sad, and I don't like to get political, but we have, over the last 2 years, we're lucky we picked the 2 states that don't believe COVID existed. So we were able to run our events, although we were very, very COVID careful. We insisted on masks, etc., and sanitization of everything. But
I participated in Dallas.
They were much easier places to operate in than other states.
Do you think you're going to roll out that? Well, okay, we know what this is good for in terms of raising money for the various charities, and why it's, so back to what something you said earlier about, designers, me not included, don't market themselves enough. Meanwhile, I've got a sandwich board and a bell, and I'm outdoors every day in business. But these show houses are a huge way to get business, even if it's not that second. You can do a show house room and 5 years later get a job from it. But it puts you in mind, it gives you a laboratory to work on things that you haven't done. And it's really a huge thing for the decorator community.
Yes, well, because it does more than just show the work of the 20 or 30 designers who are doing rooms. It also showcases the industry. It showcases the fact that interior design can be important and can enhance your life. And so that makes it, and we raise money for children. Dallas was very successful this year, especially, and we are supported so well by the local design communities. It really is wonderful, and we want to expand that franchise slowly, but we do want to expand it. And the other reason is, you should know, Alexa, is that there are other show houses around the country. Most of them are more commercial than we are. Most of them work with, and they're beautiful and they're wonderful, but they'll work, let's say, with the magazines, and there's a lot more commercialization involved in those. We are strictly non-commercial. One year we had somebody, a manufacturer, offer us money to sponsor a room, which we do not take. And then the designers came in and used that manufacturer's stuff anyway, and we were out. We didn't get the contribution. However, we stand by that. We want we want the people in the show house to use their best efforts, not to display the products of one or two companies, but to decorate a room as if you would live in it.
Great.
And that's very important. And that sets us apart from everyone else.
And that is a really good point. And in Dallas, of course, as a person who has lines, I wanted to use some, but I was using antiques. I was using custom lampshades. I was using obviously things that aren't stamped with my name on it, because you really got to come out and show your best. If you come out with like some, it's really important. If you're going to do it, and if you have the great good fortune to be asked to do it, you better bring it. Well,
we actually insist on that, and in the end, I think it is not to our detriment. We might lose a donation here, a potential donation here and there, but in the end, we have something that is incomparable.
Totally. And it's funny, I have my friend from Turkey is on, Jem. He wants to know, would you ever be opening, there's also someone on from Kuwait, would you open a new design center in other countries? Now, I know you've been wooed in the past. What would it take to get a UKDC or a
Shangzhou? The UK has Chelsea Harbor that we work very closely with. So I don't know, I wouldn't want to go there to compete with them.
Right.
And they do an extraordinary job. Claire German, who runs it, is a consummate professional and understands the industry. I have looked in Dubai. I have looked in
China.
In China. I have looked in India. And there have always been drawbacks.
Obviously, if you haven't done it yet, you haven't cracked the code. But you'd be into it, right?
Oh, I've always been into it. It's funny. The place that I got the closest was Dubai, and luckily it didn't happen because it was right before the economy in Dubai tanked. And there were so many design projects being run sort of out of Dubai, that I said this was a perfect location.
Right, a great hub.
I was going to do it with a developer. We were going to build a hotel. We were going to build temporary offices where we would provide secretarial services and et cetera for designers who were coming there to work on projects. We were going to arrange freight companies in advance. We were going to make it a total package. And unfortunately, the developer decided that his land was worth more than we could make money collecting.
Yeah. So the usual.
We have to make money on it.
Yeah. So you would be open to it. But,
I would be open to it without a doubt. India was another interesting story.
Where in India?
Well, we talked about either Bombay or Delhi.
Yeah.
And the interesting, just as an aside, the interesting difference was you had larger, more beautiful villas in Delhi, but you had more population and more wealthy people in Bombay.
Right, and
And,
Bombay is so close to places like Bangalore and
right.
other places that have
And
huge.
and the fellow, I always believe that you have to do this with a local developer who knows how to get things done. Because if you came to a country by themselves, by yourself, you don't, you don't know, who wants a bribe. I mean, not that I would give one, but
No,
you
no,
know,
no. It's complex.
it is very complex. And the comment I got from India, and that's a number of years ago, was yes, we have a lot of millionaires, but not enough of them have the taste level for a Western style design center, which I thought was an interesting comment.
And
And
weird.
then,
I find that surprising and like
I don't think it's
deeply
true. I think the
unambitious.
guy was wrong. And I still think India at some point would be actually a good place to aggregate design. A design center aggregates resources to create a marketplace to make it easier for you as a designer to shop. And that's the reason we've been so successful on the 10th floor, going back to what you said before, is that 10th Street was decimated, where there were a lot of antique dealers, and the upper, east side, many of those antique dealers are gone. And so what we did was we created a mini marketplace within our marketplace, and now we have a bunch of showrooms who are antique dealers, Lost City Arts and Lobel Modern and Donzella. These and Guy Regal. These are all great antique.
Yeah, great.
And they have full-blown showrooms. They don't just have booths on our 10th floor now. So we've become a mecca for that. Although I never want to have too many of anything.
And you also have decorators firms, but I think the caveat is the firm has to sell
a product. Correct.
A product as well.
For instance, Timothy Brown, Tom Felicia, Aero Designs, they're here, and I would want more of. First of all, it's built-in customers for the other showrooms in the building.
Yeah,
and
also, so when I think about 200 Lex in just this past 20 years, you have made like innovation part of your personal program. Like, how do I reinvent the New York Design Center this year?
Look, face it, not for a designer or a professional, but for most people, furniture shopping is basically boring. Usually one partner or spouse or another turns off after the second or third sofa and goes on, better than I, goes on their phone and starts looking at the messages. It's very hard. It's, people don't understand. Well, you present things in a way that people want to keep listening to you because they never know, Alexa, they never know what you're going to say.
I know, right? They're braced for impact.
You're right, exactly.
And they're just so relieved if all I talk about is the sofa. They're like, whew. But it is, I love watching what you do because I'm always kind of thinking like, what should I be doing? I remember over COVID right before October Market a year ago, I was in the bathtub where I do my big thinking. And I called Theodore Alexander and I said, I've had an idea. Nobody's going to be at market. Why don't we clear out our showroom at 200 Lex and bring in my stuff for a limited time, and it'll be a pop-up so people who couldn't make it to market can see. And then I called you and you said, okay, how about I rent you a spot? And you're like, I have a spot in mind and you could rent that and put on your show for a month. And then I called back Theodore Alexander and told him that, and they said great. And then I called you back and I said, this is great, because if people aren't coming to, so what you were saying about fabric and a sense of like, why do I need to go somewhere at this moment? If there is turnaround or, things changing out, that is obviously a reason to go. And you and I and Neil at the time, we did all of that all in the span of a single bath. So,
but you bathed for a long time, Alexa.
I like a good soak, but but I think it is interesting, even just listening to you talk about how you it sounded like you went pretty far with Dubai,
Yes.
and you know, like sometimes you just got to give it a shot
Well,
and go for it.
these guys wanted $40 million for an empty piece of.
I want $40 million.
Wait,
Somebody giving out $40 million
I,
because
I
I
know
will
those
take 40
palm,
million.
those palm things in Dubai that come out
Yeah,
into the
yeah, yeah, of
water,
course.
which the sheikh had given them for nothing. So I said, how do you value this at 40? Well, we have to build roads. I said, no, America is where the streets are paved with gold, not Dubai.
Uh-huh. But I like the fact that a seasoned business person like yourself, aka that I'm just calling you old, like you're still kissing frogs. You're still in it to win it. Like you're not static. You're still like pursuing new ventures, and sometimes they work and
Well, I
sometimes they
enjoy
don't.
because I enjoy it, because I enjoy seeing things that are new. I enjoy being involved with people who are young like you. I enjoy
But I think
living its life. Why just if you just an age, a number shouldn't
yeah.
mean anything if you're healthy and willing and able to continue excitement that you enjoy. I'm just lucky. Frankly, I am lucky. That's the best
Yeah.
thing I can tell you. I'm lucky to be doing something that I love with people that I love like you.
I love you too. And it is fun. It makes it exciting to wake up in the morning if you're still like, you know, looking for new ways to new angles, new ways, new endeavors, new industry, new design. It all of that, you know, it doesn't always have to pan out, but you just got to like keep at it.
No.
It keeps it fresh.
You must keep at it, because if you don't keep at it, the great things that can come out of keeping at it don't come even, nor do the bad things.
Yeah.
So you have to keep
It's just
doing it and pushing it and doing it right.
that's actually that is actually a song.
Really, sing
No,
for us,
I'm
Alexa.
not going to. I want to. Oh, so now here's another thing. So you are almost a professional host. You're the Godfather of Design because everybody loves you and because you're totally involved and you're altruistic and helpful and you're everybody's consigliere. But you also love to go out. You love restaurants. You love new restaurants. You love trying new things. Your daughter is a food writer, among other things. How important do you think, if at all, is entertaining within your professional life?
Well, first of all, it's important to me because I
would not want to see your entertaining bills.
I like it, and B, I think because I believe this is a business with a soul, you've got to get to the people's soul. You have to learn about them. You know, just to meet them in a strict business sense doesn't give you enough knowledge about a person, or even about their work, or where they're coming from, or how they feel about families, or how they feel about life, and all of that's important to me. I mean, I don't go out. I guess you'd call that my golf. I don't play golf. I don't play tennis.
Yeah.
I really like entertaining. I mean, I go out too often. I go out too many nights a week, and it's a lot of times, I would say, 60% business, or people I know from business.
Yeah. But
My father taught me something years ago.
I find you very old school New York in that regard.
Maybe, because I grew up in a family where my parents ate out all the time. And so, when they I was an only child, spoiled only child. They took me with them to a lot of great places that otherwise certainly you can't see them anymore.
Yeah.
But I forgot where I was going before you asked me. Where were we?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I do that far too often.
That's just
it was just that entertaining is your golf, your tennis,
people.
Networking.
I think that My father always told me, and I really believed him, and I think he was right, that you can go to breakfast with anybody, lunch with most people, but dinner you got to save for people you really care about.
Oh,
And
nice.
so with all
So
of this,
everybody who's listening to this that you've just invited for lunch, they're like,
that's right, go home. No, no, you know
so
what I'm saying. I mean, yes.
no, I wanted to give you that was your father's advice. My mother's
Yeah.
advice to me was, you can, regarding like breakfast, lunch, dinner, you can make a date for coffee with somebody, but if you miss it, you have to make a date for lunch. If you have
Well,
to
that
cancel,
he was a gentleman.
no, if you make a date for lunch and you miss it, you have to make a date for dinner. If for some chance you make a date for dinner and you have to cancel, you have to marry them.
Well, I think, Alexa, I think you've canceled on me.
Yeah, so
Let's
she's
go.
like, be careful how many times you cancel, because you're gonna have to marry that person.
That's very funny. That's very funny. I like it.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your travel. When you travel, you are, which I love about you. You know, when I recently went to Rome, you made sure I went to the Palazzo Colonna, which was incredible. I just took like, I just had to make the appointment. So you're very aggressive about making sure, and your wife is a total culture vulture. You go to all museums and house tours and
We have a great division of travel. I'm in charge of restaurants and hotels, and Nancy is in charge of everything else, which
of culture.
include the Colonna, includes everything, every possible exhibition that's on. She plans them in advance. I plan the restaurants in advance. It works very well. It works very well. I have another, I don't know if you call it theory or whatever. I always think that if, especially on a vacation, that you've got to do whatever it is that you like to do, and that's what we like to do. Where even on a business trip, I want to find out where the best place to eat is. I want to find out, and I think the people that I go with appreciate that. Even High Point, North Carolina, where we eat in the
Yes,
the
that's
small
Saigon.
Vietnamese restaurant every night. I still think it's the best place down there to eat, and it's fun. So I don't know. You got to live life. I think it comes from living life. I had a grandfather who would tell you where the best item to eat of its kind in New York would be. That would include getting frog's legs at the Colony, but getting apple pie at some Greek diner on 58th Street.
Yeah.
And so I learned from him. You've got to try to go where things are the best and enjoy them.
Yeah, and it's appreciation of quality,
right,
wherever that quality exists. But I do think, I think anybody in our business, no matter what portion of our business, should be doing some of what Nancy is making you do when you guys travel. So I think, maybe you're 25 and you'd really love to just go, I don't know, to a beach. But
you can go to the beach here. New York has some of the best beaches in America. You don't have to bother traveling if you want.
Yeah, but like you can go places and relax and have fun, but there should be some cultural component if there can be. And I've definitely had years.
I'll give you one quick little anecdote. I was on the National Design Committee of Bassett Furniture, and basically you were designing to fit retail price points for mass production. And you used to go down there for a week and go over sketches and ideas and whatever. One year they decided we should go touring the country and learning about design. So we went to 4 cities. For the first 3, we went to every furniture store in town and basically looked to see what everybody else was doing. And finally we went.
What year is this?
Oh, long ago. It's got to be 30 years ago or more.
So this is also like big box store time, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, in little family stores as well, but mass production, moderate prices. But anyway, I finally put my foot down and I said, look, guys, we have now seen this bedroom made by Hooker Furniture Company 82 times. We are now, we went to Pittsburgh, not necessarily the design capital of the nation.
I like Pittsburgh. I'm
I
going
do
to
too.
Pittsburgh in a week.
Okay, well, I made them all go to the Carnegie Mellon, to the museum, and look at the early American furniture, if you still call it that, or
Yeah.
whatever, and look at whatever period room. They have a great furniture collection,
Yeah.
by the way, if you have time. And I said, this is where we have to get ideas. We don't need we shouldn't be getting ideas just from other manufacturers.
Right. Though I would say no endeavor to come up with ideas should be siloed. You know, you get ideas
You
from
need everything.
everywhere, including what people are doing. Yeah, interesting. What do you wish as the Grand Poobah and the Godfather of Design? What do you wish you could see more of out of designers? What do you wish we were doing more of?
Well, I think
What do you think we should be doing?
number one is I think you should be trying to, if not individually, at least in groups, really seriously market not just yourselves as an individual designer, but interior design in general.
As a category, sure.
And
its validity and
the need for a decorator and the need for good design. I think I'm back to that, but that's in an industry of luminaries of interior design. The one thing we don't have enough of is cohesive translation of the value of interior design to the affluent public. And that it's not the same era that you grew up in or I grew up in, where in certain places, and especially more in the South, I think, than up here in the Northeast, it was de rigueur to have a designer, whether it was a great designer or a good designer,
right, polite,
or your sister-in-law,
yeah.
or your sister or brother-in-law. It was de rigueur. It's not so much de rigueur among the newly affluent because they aren't.
I don't know if I agree.
What?
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, it's too bad. If you don't agree with me, you're out. Well, I'm going to end this right now. Don't ask
Good,
me
because we have a board call in 3 minutes. And like that, he got it done. No, that's interesting. All right, so yes, and I would add to that. Nobody ever needs to hear somebody whinge again about like, oh, it's just a sofa. Like, it's not. We are creating homes. It's vastly more important than just delivering a sofa.
Yes, of course. Of course, there's romance to everything, and that's what makes it exciting. Whether you're coming in the end of a design job and putting 3 more throw pillows there, and putting the jewelry on, you create the excitement. You
right.
create the flash. You create all the things that make it worthwhile for people to engage you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. It's 1:58. We're due on our board call in 2 minutes. Thank you so much for letting me rake you over the coals on Instagram.
And I'm glad you didn't ask me all your usual questions like my favorite fabric. I really had to look. I had to research to come up with that on the question.
Why did I ask you that?
What?
Oh, you mean for the questionnaire?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's different. You've got that. We already have that.
I know.
Yeah, our little Proust questionnaire. No, I wanted to crack the skull of Jim Druckman and open it and deep dive.
Well, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you in 1 minute.
You lucky dog.
Love you. Kisses. Thank you.